Hi, welcome to Sciprex. In today's video, we will explore on velocity in Scrum. A short recap on what is velocity in Scrum. Velocity is a key performance metric in Scrum that measures the amount of work a development team completes during a sprint. It is typically calculated based on the number of story points or user stories delivered and marked done at the end of the sprint. By tracking velocity over time, teams can forecast future sprint capacity, plan releases more effectively, and make data-driven decisions. It promotes consistency, helps manage stakeholder expectations, and supports better sprint planning. It's important to note that velocity is unique to each team and should be used for internal planning, not for comparing team performance. Some question and answers to discuss on velocity for an interview preparation. Q1. A team's velocity dropped significantly in the last sprint. How would you address this as a Scrum Master or Agile coach? Answer. As a Scrum Master, I would facilitate a sprint retrospective to help the team identify any blockers, impediments, or changes in team dynamics that may have affected performance. Factors such as unplanned work, external dependencies, team member availability, or unclear requirements would be examined. The goal is not to focus on the drop in velocity itself, but to understand the root causes and support the team in improving their process for the next sprint. Q2. If a team consistently overcommits and fails to meet its planned velocity, how would you guide them? Answer. I would encourage the team to revisit their estimation practices and capacity planning during sprint planning. It's important that the team understands their sustainable pace and plans realistically based on historical velocity. I might introduce techniques like capacity-based planning and foster discussions around prioritization with the product owner to ensure the most valuable items are addressed first. Q3. How do you use velocity for release forecasting? Answer. Release forecasting involves using the team's average velocity to estimate how many sprints are required to complete a given product backlog. For example, if the total estimated backlog is 200 story points and the team's average velocity is 20, it would take approximately 10 sprints to complete. This projection helps with roadmap planning and stakeholder communication, but it should be revisited regularly as backlog items and team performance evolve. Q4. Can a newly formed team rely on velocity in their first sprint? Why or why not? Answer. No. A newly formed team cannot reliably use velocity in their first sprint for forecasting because they lack historical data. The first few sprints are typically used to establish a baseline, refine estimation practices, and adapt to working as a cohesive unit. After 3 to 4 sprints, the team may start to develop a consistent velocity for future planning. Q5. What would you do if leadership is pressuring the team to increase their velocity? Answer. I would educate leadership on the purpose of velocity as a planning tool, not a performance metric. Artificially increasing velocity can lead to poor quality, burnout, and compromised value delivery. Instead, I would focus discussions on value delivered, business outcomes, and team health. If needed, I would present data and retrospectives to show how sustainable velocity leads to better long-term results. Q6. What factors can impact a team's velocity? Answer. Velocity can be impacted by several factors, including team composition changes, technical complexity, unplanned work, resource availability, and external dependencies. Over time, velocity may stabilize, allowing for more reliable forecasting. Q7. Can velocity be used to compare different teams? Answer. No. Velocity shouldn't be used to compare different teams. Each team estimates story points differently based on their understanding, skill set, and work process. Therefore, velocity is relative and only meaningful within the context of the same team. Q8. How does velocity help in sprint planning? Answer. Velocity helps the team determine how much work they can realistically commit to in the next sprint. By referring to the average velocity over past sprints, the team can make more accurate forecasts, manage stakeholder expectations, and ensure sustainable development. Q9. How is velocity calculated? Answer. Velocity is calculated by summing up the story points of all the completed user stories in a sprint. For example, if a team completes 5 user stories worth 3, 5, 2, 8, and 2 points respectively, their sprint velocity is 20 story points. And Q10. What is velocity in Scrum? Answer. Velocity in Scrum is a metric that represents the amount of work a Scrum team completes during a single sprint. It is usually measured in story points or user stories that meet the definition of done. Velocity helps teams forecast how much work they can handle in future sprints. Hope you like this video? Subscribe the channel and don't forget to click on bell icon. Thanks for watching Sciprex. Keep learning and stay inspired.